Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And there's a lot that's happened, so let's get into it. With Hurricane Dorian, it turned into a major Category 3. 2000 Florida National Guard were called in. It was expected to hit Miami directly and then to come towards central Florida, but its speed slowed and the hurricane shifted to where it wouldn't directly go through Miami, but it would go near the coast of Florida and Orlando or International Airport canceled flights before then. It reached Category 4 with 130-mile-per-hour winds. Is heading towards the Bahamas, and it hit the Bahamas. Um, it reached 150 mile an hour, and then Category 5 and 160, and it hit the Bahamas with 200-mile-per-hour winds, the strongest hurricane to ever hit the Bahamas. And yeah, the problem with the hurricane was instead of moving quickly through the island, it decreased a little bit over time, but it stayed in some places for a long time, so it hurt the island really bad. Hurricane warnings went to Florida, Georgia, and Virginia, and 1 million people were under evacuation orders. In the beginning, the first estimates were from the Bahamas Prime Minister of 5 dead, 21 injured. Sadly, that rose a lot. And like I was saying, in some parts, Dorian stayed in parts of the Bahamas for over 48 hours, which is 2 days, which is crazy. The U.S. Coast Guard deployed helicopters to rescue the injured, and efforts were suspended until conditions improved because the hurricane was staying there. The storm surge reached 23 feet, and then Hurricane Dorian weakened to Category 2, but expanded in size. Um, it caused tropical storm winds and coastal flooding to head towards Florida's way, and much of the southeastern U.S. The death toll reached 20 in the Bahamas, and Trump had this whole thing where he said that Alabama would be affected by the Hurricane Dorian. The National Weather Service corrected him, but like everything else, he couldn't admit that he was wrong. So he actually got a national map of where Dorian was supposed to hit, like where it was projected, and he drew a sharpie, like a circle over Alabama to show, like try to show that Alabama would be hit by Dorian. The death toll went up to 30. Um, Dorian caused flooding and tornadoes in North and South Carolina, and I think it went into the land more there. Not too much, but it did. And Trump said that he hadn't heard of a Category 5 hurricane. There have been 3 Category 5 hurricanes hit while he's been president. He suggested during a White House meeting to nuke hurricanes, which, I mean, that really speaks for itself of how dumb that is. But nuking a hurricane, I think, would make it radioactive. So, I mean, just seems like a bad idea all the way around. His staff members were shocked that he said that. And then Dorian increased to Category 3 towards the Carolinas. The Bahamas death toll went up to 43. I didn't know this, but the Bahamas island contains 400,000 inhabitants, so that's a lot of people to worry about. And then Dorian weakened to Category 1 and tropical storm. Michael Jordan pledged to donate $1 million to Hurricane Dorian survivors in the Bahamas. And as of right now that I know of, the death toll is currently 50 dead and 2,500 missing. Doesn't mean that they're all dead. They're just like not known about what they could have evacuated. So probably doesn't mean that they all died, but hopefully the death counter, even though it's expected to rise, doesn't go up too much. And this is weird because this happened and it's already like out of the news and like nobody's talking about it anymore. It happened like 2 weeks or less. 7 died and 21 were injured in shootings near Midland and Odessa, Texas. It was at a Home Depot and a nearby movie theater by 2 gunmen. An active shooter was killed at the movie theater. 2 state troopers were killed by the shooter after pulling him over for a traffic violation, and then the shooter left his car and took a mail van. A cop stopped the shooter by crashing into the vehicle, and there was an eyewitness who videotaped that. Another crazy thing that happened was 33 died, and person was missing after a dive boat, the Conception, caught fire in Santa Cruz Island, California. 33 members were on board for a scuba trip. 5 crew members jumped overboard and paddled to a nearby vessel. The rest were asleep, probably trapped by the flames. Divers couldn't find the last victim. They're trying to learn the cause of the fire. A fire, the Tenasia fire, last saw, it said it consumed 2,000 acres of Southern California. 400 homes are issued mandatory evacuations. So protests are still going strong in Hong Kong. It was the 13th week when I was writing these notes. The protesters want Carrie Lam, um, like I think they want her out of office. They want freedom for China. Um, The situation is getting worse between the government and the civilians. Radical protesters pointed laser beams at government buildings, gathered in the street, and put barricades and set them on fire. Um, which, makes every protester look bad because China can just use this in the mainland to say that all Hong Kong protesters are radical when it's a very small percentage. China says that Hong Kong will never be able to choose their own leaders. Trump downplayed North Korea's recent missile tests, so the relationship seemed to be getting worse, and Trump is just in denial about it. And it says that it could threaten U.S. bases. China announced it will remove 16 American-made products from tariffs. Does not remove pork or soybeans, but it's still like a move in the right direction. And then Trump said that he pushed back new tariffs from October 1st to October 15th. And it's a sign of goodwill between these countries before talks scheduled next month. The markets reacted positively, which you would assume. And Trump said that he'd consider a trade deal with China just now, which is good because we want this to be resolved, but we also want to hold China accountable. In Britain, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, loses majority in Parliament, and they block like a Brexit without deal because that's currently how it is. Judges rule that Parliament suspension is unlawful because he tried to suspend Parliament to get his way, and so of course that is unlawful. I saw that Roundup is said to have caused cancer. So I don't know if you were following this, but I've been paying attention from being a big Marvel fan. Spider-Man was taken out of the excuse me, Spider-Man, the character, was taken out of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, after talks fell through from Sony and Disney, because Sony bought bought Spider-Man from Marvel, I think in the 90s. Disney and Sony are close to reaching agreement. They say Sony they say that they're taking Spider-Man out of the MCU, but it could just be a business tactic to get the Marvel fans against them. Kevin Hart was in a severe car wreck and injured his back. A firework mishap killed a Spanish singer. And Fox News anchor Neil Cavuto, I just wanted to give him credit because he responded that they don't work for Trump after Trump kept complaining about how Fox News does not do a good job reporting on him anymore. And I thought that he did a really good job. He's like the only Fox News anchor with some common sense because all the other ones wouldn't say anything like that. I mean, what's his the main guy? I forget his name, but the main guy from Fox News is even going to Trump's rallies and talking. It's so stupid. Uh, but in other news, California Senate passed a bill that could force Uber and other giants to label their workers as employees, and it would secure labor protections for thousands. So Trump canceled a secret meeting between the Taliban, which I thought was a mistake because, I want the conflict in the Middle East to end. It seems like the Taliban don't have any land because the US and their allies um, made it so that they don't have land when they used to have Iraq and Syria. But I found out that the Taliban members and the leader of Afghanistan, who's not a bad guy, but I'm saying him and the Taliban were supposed to come to Camp David in the U.S. like the weekend before 9/11 to negotiate peace. And that's just like, it's a bad idea, bad timing. So he canceled the meeting, citing the Taliban's recent bombing. He got a lot of criticism for Pence and the military staying at his properties in Europe. Trump is self-dealing to his businesses by doing that. And big news, Trump fired National Security Advisor John Bolton. Excuse me, Trump and others disagreed with many of his calls, he said. And this is a very good decision because John Bolton was a warmonger for the Iraq War, and he was trying to get us to have a war with Iran. And it seems like tensions have gone down a lot. Like, we're definitely not allies with Iran, but we're not at the edge of war right now. And that idiot's out, so that's good. I mean, I don't like Iran at all, but I don't want to go to war with the country if you don't have to, you know? So, yeah, that's been good. I wanted to also shout out the company BP because they're an oil company, but they invest in alternate energy as well as the oil. The Pope got stuck in an elevator and he got rescued after 25 minutes. The Pentagon announced that it will halt 127 projects to raise $3.6 billion for the border, which is really wrong because he's cutting a lot of projects that he might not see as necessary but were necessary just so he can fund his stupid wall. 400 million of that 3.6 billion was going to be spent to rebuild military sites in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. But of course, it doesn't seem important to him. Doesn't care about people who aren't white. North Korea's North Carolina's state legislative maps are gerrymandering um, to get a certain political outcome to benefit Republicans, and they violate the state's constitution. A panel of 3 judges rules. That's a big deal because it seems like Republicans have been gerrymandering for a long time and they just got caught by the courts. So that's a good step. Dan Bishop edged out Democrat Dan McCready in the special election to represent North Carolina's 9th District. It seemed like a close race, and it was a House seat held by the GOP for 60 years. A freight train derailed in Illinois, sparking smokes and flames. In 2017, the CIA carried out a top secret mission to extract or remove a high level Russian official. From concerns of the Trump administration repeatedly mishandled classified information. A study finds that high schoolers who don't date are less depressed than ones who do. And I personally don't think so. Like, I don't want to. I know it's going a little bit personal, but I don't want to be someone who's clingy, but I do wish that I found someone to be in a relationship with. But it's saying that people like me who aren't in a relationship are less likely to be sad than people who are. I guess because it's a lot of responsibility, and most people my age aren't mature or responsible enough to be in a committed relationship. So, I mean, I kind of get it, but I don't really feel that way. Anyways, VP Vice President Pence was met with rainbow flags in his visit to Iceland, which was good. Big things came with e-cigarettes. The CDC is warning against e-cigarettes after 3 die from a vaping-related death. 6 people, it increases 6 people. New York officials subpoena 3 companies that sell high levels of vitamin E that can be used in the black market vaping products that contain THC. First Lady Melania Trump sounded the alarm on vaping, and because of that, the White House is working to ban flavored e-cigarettes, which is a huge step that I didn't see coming. But it probably is good in the long run because a lot of people in my generation, not even generation, a lot of people in my generation, or in high school, are stupid, and I'm just gonna say it's stupid because there's no studies on marijuana or e-cigarettes, but just because the companies like Juul says, oh, it's healthier than cigarettes, there's no evidence for that. And actually, the FDA is issuing a warning letter to Juul for illegally marketing their product as a safer alternative to cigarettes without evidence. But yeah, a lot of people my age are thinking that's a cool thing, and but now people are dying already from like juuling, and if they don't do something radical like maybe banning all like e-cigarettes, a lot of people in my generation would die young, so it might be a good thing after all, taking that big of a step. Um, Jules says they plan to fully cooperate, even though they probably won't after um, hearing that. Alabama launches an investigation, and New York may follow Michigan's lead to ban flavored cigarettes. Video games are being added as a part of UK's school curriculum. A poll finds most Americans want Congress to pass gun restrictions, which seems like the right thing to do. Supreme Court says Trump can limit migrants coming into the U.S. Trump's son-in-law, stupid Jared Kushner, who doesn't really have any role in politics, met with Senate Republicans to try and get them on board with the White House proposal to get rid of legal immigration. T. Boone Pickens, a legendary oil man, died at 91. Former South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford announced a primary challenge to Trump. Trump mocked him that um, he mocked that he ran away with women in Argentina while having a wife and kids. But Trump's really not much better, cheating on his wife with a porn star. But his supporters don't care for that, so they really shouldn't care about the other person. But we'll see. Joe Biden told a moving but false war story. CNN had a climate debate, which I was really happy for CNN. Good job, CNN. Because stupid DNC didn't want to have any debate specifically on climate. They just wanted to have it as a subcategory that people would talk about for like 20 minutes. So, what CNN did is they had 7 hours in total, and 10 candidates talked for 40 minutes on separately about climate change and what they would do if they were in office. They answered questions. Kamala Harris said at first she wouldn't go because of scheduling conflict, but she went. And I would give her a 10 out of 10 for caring about the environment and having her plans to punish those who don't. I only saw 3 out of the 10. I saw Kamala Harris, Andrew Yang, and Julian Castro. I thought Julian Castro did a great job, 10 out of 10. I was very pleasantly surprised by Andrew Yang, who I didn't think much about before. I didn't think he did a good job of talking about the issue during the first 2 debates. I mean, there wasn't a lot of time, but still. He had a lot of ideas to solve climate change. I think he had the most. I'd give him an 11 out of 10 because of that. And he moves up on my list, and I could see myself voting for him uh, where I didn't before, but his polling's a little too low, sadly. We'll see. On ABC, Democratic town halls tonight. 10 candidates in Houston at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. First time Biden, Warren, Sanders are on the same debate stage together. DNC told candidates not to curse, which I thought was pretty funny. And I also want to remember 9/11 because the 18th anniversary was yesterday. And we got to remember the attack where almost 3,000 people died. Um, and this country did, and I'm happy for it that we remembered the event and cared about it still. We were talking about it in class. My school did a good job to integrate it without like putting it, so high up over like the normal class stuff. So we tribute to them, and thoughts and prayers go out to those families still. Um, as we move on from that point in history. That's the video. If you do like this video, please like and subscribe. It helped me a lot. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out, guys.